Hi Capricorn, welcome to your July 2016 love reading. Okay, in full disclosure, I had started to pick your cards. The first one came out, reversed. So I always look at the bottom of the deck. It was upright, so I picked from the top, and then it was, fine. Fine. And then the third card was reversed, so I looked at the bottom again, and basically every other card was reversed. And some people will just turn over all the reverse cards and place them on the table upright. They don't read reverse cards. I read reversed cards. It's kind of a strange thing that I have, though. I have like a little rule that if I pick one reverse card, I will look at the bottom of the deck to make sure I don't have the deck upside down. And in this case, for whatever reason, the cards were quite mixed up. And that was because I wasn't being conscious of what I was doing. Not that I'm always looking to see if the cards are basically upright in the deck, but I want to have a combination of both honoring reversed cards as well as not having human error interfere with a reading also. And I feel like when I'm not paying attention to, how I'm holding the cards at the very beginning, that can be something that is my fault. So I want to do it both ways. I don't want to read every card reversed, and I also don't want to pretend that cards never are reversed. There are meanings for reversed cards. And in other words, I wasn't feeling it. It didn't seem right to read that sort of reading. And I have seen it with other readers where, just about every card is reversed, and that just doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't feel like it's in alignment with how it's supposed to be. But some reversed cards, yes. I think they can give a distinct message. And so now I have been shuffling again as I've been talking to you, and I just looked to see if basically they're all upright. I'm not going to look at every single card. But, I'm fine with whatever happens now because I know that I'm not holding them all upside down. I hope that made sense. Okay, here we go. And I shuffle in between too. I haven't picked the Magician in a long time. Oops. See, I don't know if things are in frame. Wow. See, this is your reading. I'm going to put this a little bit further back. Even though that's probably not good either, because then you show the edge of the table. Let me see if I can do this like this. Okay, this will have to do. All right, Capricorn, so the overall energy is the Queen of Swords. I'm going to talk about the recent past in order to get to the Queen of Swords, because I can already tell this is the recent past, the Magician card. A snap judgment of what that means is that for those of you who have had problems in your committed partnerships, and this could apply too for people who are now single. Maybe it was a past relationship. At some point you realized that you held the power, that you created, that you create your reality. And the Magician is about creating your reality, or co-creating, if you want to include God in on it. And it's a card of self-empowerment. I love that card. It's the number 1. And interestingly, in numerology, 1 is about the self, which, isn't surprising. But the self is, when you honor the self, you realize that you don't need to wait for somebody else to do something in order to feel good about your life. A lot of people are dependent on other people for their relationships because they feel like their power to feel good is coming from outside of them. And so at some point, and usually this happens with suffering, if you were in a relationship that was problematic, you realized that you had the power and you took control. So that's where you're at right now. You're in this place of, the Queen of Swords is about the feminine principle of self-mastery of thought. So it's feminine and masculine. And whenever we say feminine, we're talking about kind of the intuitive part of us and the passive part. But in combination with the masculine side, which is more assertive outside of ourselves, it's a nice combination, because it means that we are able to take advantage of positive thinking, and also not allow emotions to get the best of us. And this is one of the things that I would say specifically women have a harder time not doing, because women are wired to be more emotional than men. Not saying it always, turns out that way, but that's how it can be. And so they tend to get very emotionally hung up on a relationship. And so when you see the Queen of Swords, you're seeing somebody who is, it's not being cold, it's being rational and using head over heart. And it's coming from the realization that you had the power to do so. So this can encompass any number of issues in a relationship that were possibly problematic. It's not speaking of a specific situation to me. The higher message is the 8 of Wands. So this is more of a spiritual perspective of the situation. This could deal with somebody who is a fire sign, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, that figures into this scenario. Maybe you were choosing between air sign and fire sign. And this wouldn't, obviously this is a general reading, so it's not going to apply to everybody, but I wanted to get that little detail in because the air signs, the Gemini and the Libra and the Aquarians, they may be the person that you find yourself with right now, but you may have a fire sign person in your life that is more appropriate for you, or overall that person may be more helpful for you in an overall sense. That person may be better for you overall. So it's interesting to see how many variations there are in interpreting those cards. But the Eight of Wands can also relate to what happens. And it could be telling you that you may be kind of involved in some kind of romantic situation, but then something comes in that is a very quick sort of energy. I've been getting this card over and over again in different readings. So I don't know if there's something astrological that is triggering this and making it more of a universal thing, where people are having to make decisions on the spot about something. But it's a positive thing. It's just that because it's so quick, the signs or the people that are more cautious may perceive it as a stressful situation and may resist it when it's really for your highest good. And in this position, it's for your highest good. So let's say you received news that you have a new job and you have to travel for this job. And maybe there's somebody, maybe it's an air sign, who you're really hung up on or involved with, and you have to decide whether or not to take this new opportunity, and you're just not sure because you really want to be with this person. Well, the higher perspective would say that it would be better for you overall to go with the offer. Obviously, you have to do what's best for you. And I'm not telling anybody to override their intuition or their common sense. This is just one interpretation. And so that could be what it's saying. It could just mean that you're going to have a very thrilling love affair. And that it's going to be, maybe it is with a fire sign person. Maybe this person is too remote. They're too in their head. And, air signs and earth sign individuals tend to have that in common, where they are pretty detached. And, so that's the one thing that they have in common. But there might be too much detachment with this person. And this other person, especially if it's a fire sign, might have a lot more energy, zest, passion that it inspires in you, because you are a pretty dry customer. You have a very dry wit. You have a very, in your shadow moments, you could say it's a cynical point of view, but you can be some of the funniest people when you're in a good mood, because you see life from such a pragmatic perspective that it ends up being very amusing for other people to see that common sense displayed when you can point out the foibles of other people so easily. So that's really nice. I like all three of those top cards. The card that crosses you is the Hangman card in reverse. So some of you, you have to watch out that if you do get an opportunity that you don't let it pass by, because this in reverse can indicate useless sacrifice. And sometimes people sacrifice because they think that it's the right thing to do. Now, let's say you did get a job opportunity and the person that you're with protests and says, but we're going to be separated. That sort of situation, you have to evaluate whether that person is really having your highest good in mind or whether they're being selfish. And, likewise, you may be avoiding making a decision, and you may have been putting it off. In the upright position, the Hangman card is about taking a breather and trying to see the situation from a different perspective. But in the reversed position, the person may be in such a rut that they may refuse to make that choice. and they probably need desperately to make the choice. So just keep your eye out for that possible scenario playing itself out. And this card can kind of give you a hint about dealing with that inertia or that fear of change, and that's the Knight of Wands. This is a card, you know, that is energy front and center for you, and that indicates that for some of you, you may have to be very brave. If there's something that requires you to totally change your life, or, you know, do something drastic, you may have to be a warrior. You know, I look at this card as somebody who's going off to war, and you may have to put on a brave face. Maybe if you are separated from someone, you will have to allow yourself to feel those, you know, challenging feelings and still do it. You know, they have that book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Sometimes we have to stretch ourselves. Now, I'm trying to think of other scenarios than somebody who's moving away from someone, because I know that that isn't always going to be the case. Some of you may have had to just break off from a real toxic relationship, and you were able to somehow summon some sort of good thoughts or positive thinking to put you into the position of being more detached, and that created this energy that allowed life to flow in for you. So in other words, a lot of times when people do not leave situations, they cannot make space for new things to come in their place. And this could also apply to jobs that you are in, clinging to the security and really, you know, suffering in that job. So that could be what was happening, and the message from the universe would be that when you let go, something will come in right away to show you that, you know, the universe has your back. And so, you know, these cards may just mean, you know, remember that and take the chance, and don't allow yourself to be paralyzed by indecision. The advice is the Temperance card. So, again, if this is a fire sign, it could be a Sagittarius, because that the Temperance card relates to Sagittarius. But it just is advising for moderation. So for those people who, you know, may have really found yourself in a totally different life because you left an abusive or otherwise bad situation, you may feel tempted to change everything. And this card is saying you can do this gradually. You know, you don't have to do everything at once, because just by this reading, look, I picked 7 cards. How many of them are major arcana? There's 4. Oh, and here's the other thing. Okay, Capricorn. Your opposite sign is Cancer. For the first 3 weeks of the month, the Sun and I'm sure Venus will be in your opposing sign, so that's your 7th house. And we're even going to have a new moon there on the 4th of July. So the issue of the other, especially in these committed partnerships, or so-called committed partnerships, or maybe even divorces that are, or, you know, broken relationships, but they are with people that were our mates, they will be featured during most of the month. And so this may be specifically for those people in troubled relationships. And you may feel like this is a time when you want to just kind of clear the decks. And that's a wonderful feeling, because it is good sometimes just to start anew. But maybe you don't have to do everything in one day. And the outcome is actually the World card. So this is the closing of a chapter. This is the last major arcana card. So, you know, regardless of what you do externally, I think that you are in a particular chapter that is closing. And, you know, that's great, because you know, close one door, another opens. And the other thing I wanted to say too is that you're a cardinal sign. A lot of cardinal signs have found themselves with a lot of challenges in the last, how many years? Probably like 8 years. And because the United States is a Cancer, and I think that England might be a Capricorn. I don't know if it's London as a Capricorn or England as a country. But these are cardinal signs, and they are being hit by these outer planets that are just kind of battering and bruising them, because they're forming these very difficult angles, like oppositions and squares. And what is so interesting about this is that the cardinal signs are so active that when they meet with opposition, it is even more challenging for them than if you have, let's say, a mutable opposition, or even like a mutable Grand Cross, or a mutable, you know, whatever, any kind of mutable square or mutable Grand Cross, which is like, you know, involving more planets. It's not that as big a deal, because mutable signs are flexible, and they may feel tension, they may be high strung, but they can work with whatever's happening more easily. The cardinal signs like Cancer and Capricorn and Libra and Aries are much more action oriented. So when there's a square and there might be something that's like kind of locking horns or preventing movement, and they feel frustrated, it impacts them, I feel, in a greater way. So I feel like you might have felt thwarted in recent years. And this can apply to, you know, work or your love life. And if you have, just realize that these outer planets are kind of playing into this. However, even with that sort of challenging energy, it helps you, because it helps to wear away your rougher edges that, you know, form when you want to control everything. And, you know, I think about the Death card. I was trying to look for it because I know I picked it for another reading, and I realized it wasn't for this one. But the Death card is all about accepting change and not trying to fight it. And that is how a successful cardinal sign handles these transits, is that if you go with the flow, which is the upright advice for this card, you can actually benefit from all of these transits, because they make you a better person. And they make you less controlling and more in control, which is what the magician is knowledgeable about their own power and knows that it's not found in the outer world. And so that makes them understand, you know, where to expend their energy. And that applies whether you're in a career or in a love relationship, that you don't want to spin your wheels trying to control something that you can't control. And so anyway, the World card is not only about closing a chapter, but about success. It means that you have successfully navigated a certain phase of your life, and you're ready for a whole new beginning. And with it, there's a sense of abundance, and there's a sense of completion and closure. And so it really is a positive ending to this reading, Capricorn. And hopefully, even those of you who may be ending certain relationships, hopefully you see the potential for new situations, maybe even suddenly, to kind of come rushing into your life once you have closed the door on the past for good. So I hope you enjoyed this, Capricorn. If you would like a personal reading, please click on the link below. Otherwise, have a great July. Bye.